Greetings. Wow. This week has been turbulent. Under the backdrop of, let's just try to recap. This week has been trying, test of our faith. But I'll tell you one thing today. I know that we're going to be triumphant, and I know that this too shall pass. I'm going to go ahead and make this episode 15 of our series that's been going on. I've been going back and forth with this, but I decided to make it a part of this 100 Days of Real Motivation, episode 15. My name is IrvMotivates, attorney and counselor at law, ID the motivational attorney, civil rights lawyer, and we've had burning riots in Minneapolis. We had riots in Atlanta, Georgia, and we had protests in DC. Protest, riot. But not to be flippant about it. It's just how protest is generally used for certain people when they feel like their civil rights or their human rights have been violated and vandalized. We have the constitutional right to peacefully protest our government. Let's get that very clear. And our theme today, before I get beside myself, is shine your light. Shine your light. We have a constitutional right to peacefully protest. And what we have to comprehend is we need to stop being hypocritical. Stop being hypocritical. Why do I say that? Listen, we have had a problem with violence. In fact, violence has been a part and parcel of our culture. It's as American pie. Let's not be hypocritical. We have solutions to these social ills that have gripped us in the backdrop of a pandemic. We haven't forgotten. COVID-19 it's real. It's still going on. And it's almost as if, it's been muffled by this new pandemic. It's nothing new. Racism, it's as if we take one step forward and then 10 steps backward. Nothing's new. It's the same playbook. Nothing new. They're not saying anything new. Riots have been happening. Watts, Miami, Harlem. We've had Detroit. Riots have been happening for decades. Listen, you want to talk about rioting and protesting? Hold on, wait a minute. Oh, man. I'm sipping my tea. I'm sipping tea today. Ginger tea. Okay? Listen. There was something called the Boston Tea Party. Don't you remember that? Huh? No taxation without representation. Right? Look, man, look. I don't want us to be hypocrites, number one, because, we're living in an information age where, you can't pull the wool over people's eyes any longer. People cannot be hoodwinked by this hypocrisy, right? We live in a violent culture, and we cannot be violent and ask for peace. No, you can't do that. We have to, you can't continue to berate people. You can't continue to kill people and expect for everything to be hunky-dory. It's not going to go down like that. But I want to say that to all those who may have been a part of the rioting and destruction of poverty, I am listening. I hear you. I can hear you now, right? Because approximately 53 years ago today, Martin Luther King Jr. said some very powerful words. Let me say this, he says, as I've always said, and I will always continue to say, riots are socially destructive and self-defeating. But in the final analysis, a riot is the language of the unheard. Can you hear me now? Can you hear them now? Are you listening? Not just hearing, are you listening? There's a difference between hearing and listening. Hearing is just one ear and out the other, and you're just trying to respond as to how you feel. Shut up for a second and listen for a change. Listen. People are frustrated because they feel voiceless. Because you're not talking about anything that goes to the soul of their issues and their problems and their pain. This is a painful time for America. A painful time that we need to address this. You see, this thing, hold on. It has failed America. And what is it that America has failed to hear? What has America failed to hear? It is the same blueprint. It has failed to hear that the plight of the Negro, black people, poor, has worsened over the last few years. It's failed to hear that the promises of freedom and justice have not been met. It has failed to hear that large segments of white society are more concerned about tranquility and the status quo than about justice, equality, and humanity. And I dare say that even some black people feel the same way. And so in a real sense, our nation's summers of riots are caused by our nation's winters of delay. And as long as America postpones justice, we stand in a position of having these recurrences of violence and riots over and over and over and over again. Martin Luther King, the other America. It's real. It's prophetic. It is on point. It is prevalent and relevant to today, right here and right now. But shine your light, right? Shine your light. We can no longer ignore the orangutan in the room. We can no longer ignore the baboon in the room. We can no longer afford to give it figs and bananas and act as if everything's all right. Oh no, we can't do that any longer. Shine your light. It's time for each of us to dig deep within our souls and to come out with solutions and, more importantly, the energy to shift this earth's atmosphere. That's what we need to be doing right now. Listen. It's been frequently said, think outside the box. You know, who created this box that we have to think outside of? I mean, shine your light. You don't need permission from anybody to shine your light. Listen, who created this box? I don't even want to be in a box when I'm dead. But we understand your frustrations of those who feel voiceless. But don't burn down your own communities don't continue to burn down your own community in order to send the message. The message is sent. Now the question is, where do we go from here? What's the plan? You understand what I'm saying? Every battle is a part of the big war, if you will. And some you don't fight every battle. Some you walk away from. And the bigger war going on is this pandemic of racism that's so very real and alive. Listen, I want to tell those people who feel voiceless and powerless and angry. I'm angry myself. I'm pissed off myself. Don't let your limited options bury you in a man-made coffin. You hear me? I don't believe in boxes, even when I'm dead. So what I'm telling you is we have a battle to win, all right? We have to retreat, right? And stop the violence, right? And recognize that we have another battle. It's a war going on, and we have to battle at the ballot box. And I always say it. It's not just voting. I really kind of hate when people try to put all of their eggs into the proverbial voting basket, as if voting is the end all and be all of our. No, we have to fundraise. We have to organize. Huh? Listen, here's a big one. We need to demand diversity for inclusion and for equity and justice. Equity and justice. We need to, you see, because if you're not at the table, then you are on the menu. You understand what I'm saying? Listen, we need to be at the table where decisions are being made. We need summer programs for our youth. Understand? You can find money for war, but can't feed the poor? Nah. We got to stop being hypocritical. We have to shine our light today. Listen, don't allow people to box you into who or what you should or should not be. Yeah. Excuse me. I gotta do this. It's getting hot in here. Let me sip my tea. Listen, you know, in my life, we wear the mask that grins and lies. Huh? That hides our face and shades our eyes. It was true that we live in this, as black people in America and indeed the world, we have this duality. And many times it's more than a duality. It's more than just living in a white man's world or a black world. It's just living in the world. And I've become comfortable with the fact that I'm multi-dimensional. Human beings are multi-dimensional. It's okay to be able to be in and out of different cultures and be able to be a polyglot. A polyglot is one that knows 3 or more languages. And indeed, I am a polyglot, but you know, I'm also polycultural. I don't even know if that's a word, but if it is, you know where we heard it first. We have to be multifaceted, multi-talented, and indeed, we are multi-dimensional. I wanted to try to brand myself, not recognizing that not branding myself is the biggest thing that I could ever do. Because if I branded myself, no box could hold who and what I am. I'm an attorney, civil rights attorney, motivational speaker, the keynote speaker, a fundraiser, an organizer. I'm all that and then some. Tall, dark, and handsome. Shine the light on. I'm telling you right now, we have to shine the light on this darkness and this deception and this degradation. You see, listen, racism brings on a depression and an anxiety. You see, I feel that the biggest thing we need to be dealing with is this domestic terror of racism right now. That's what we need to be dealing with as a people. We cannot hide behind these hypocritical phrases and your ignorance, or really it's your callousness, because many people don't care. And let me say this while we're at it. Listen, it's not every white person, and I'm not being an apologist, but we have to create allies and understand that there are some poor, pissed off white people too out there. There's some poor, pissed off Asian people, rich and poor, pissed off Latinos. Okay, there's pissed off people in America right now and don't want to take this any longer. Enough is enough. Say it with me. Enough is enough. Let me say this. Whew. Listen. I'm going to take my time here. Listen. We need to create places and positions where we are no longer berated, where we are appreciated, right? And where we are celebrated and not just merely tolerated. This is what needs to happen. And that's twofold. We need to be able to do it in our own communities, and we need to be able to do it in corporate places and spaces. I said it before and I will say it again. Listen, we, the consumers, we are consuming and we spend money, and money talks, and we're going to require and shelter in a new day and assist that we can try and make a matter. I believe that we can. I'm an optimist realist, right? I'm cautiously optimistic. I have faith, that sees the invisible, that believes in the impossible. I have faith that shining a light in this darkness, shining the light can create a difference today. I want you to shine your light. Listen, young people, there are 36 chambers in the Wu-Tang Temple. It was only 35. You got to see the story for yourself. But for those who know, the 36th chamber, you see, what I'm saying to you is there's spaces and places where we can come together. See, we have a job to play as your older, younger elders, right? We need to share with you and pass on the baton of the legacy for the betterment of ourselves, our businesses, our community, our country, and the world. And we have that duty and that obligation. Listen, the systematic racism is like a boa constrictor that has been strangling, and it's had a chokehold on the creativity. It has a chokehold on the economic system. It has a chokehold on black bodies swinging from the trees. It has a chokehold. It's systematic racism in the criminal justice system. It has a chokehold on us, and we have to chop this snake. We have to chop this snake. There's no more monkeying around, right? The orangutan in the room, I said it, King Kong doesn't have anything on this racist ideology, racist application, and systematic racism. But there's no more monkeying around. You see no evil, you hear no evil, and you speak no evil. But we've seen it, we've heard it, and we've been silent for far too long. We can no longer be silent. Being silent and being neutral in the face and wave of this racist pandemic puts you in the same category of the oppressor. We can no longer be suppressed by the oppressors. We can't do it. Racism is not getting worse. It's getting filmed, guys. Okay? And you know, listen, you have a right to be upset. Don't let people, the angry black man. No, listen. Yeah, I'm angry. And you would be too if they were shooting down your brother, your fathers, your uncles. You would be too. To not be upset is a sickness. A hurt dog will holler. Holla, 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 holla. Right? If you don't say anything, they'll kill you and tell you you've enjoyed it. Zora Neale Hurston. Listen, as I sip tea, it's been going on like a tea kettle, and now it's brewing over. It's brewing over. And to stop the fire, we have to really be real about our community. You just don't get to walk away and que sera, sera, blase, squaze. No, we can't live like this any longer. Shining our light in the darkness allows other people to see the way. Shining the light in our communities allow us to be more robust society. It's part of the economic engine. More jobs, more spending. Doesn't that make any sense to you? Shine the light. A child who is not embraced by his village will burn it down to feel its warmth. We need to now put our hands and heads together so that we can better our communities and be serious about assisting in this revolution that is what it is that's taking place. It's a revolution of mind, revolution of our body, and revolution of our souls. Thank you for taking the time out listening to me. Episode 16, 100 Days of Real Motivation. Thank you. Greetings. Oh, wow. This week